Welcome. My name's Sean Wilson. Joining me today is Praveen Maloo. We are the Technical Product Marketing Managers for Skype for Business, and we are back on our bi-weekly broadcast. Today we are talking about mobility and all things about mobility. We're going to talk a little bit about trends. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the investments we've made, as well, kind of give you a really cool demo here partway through. So Praveen, fill us in a little bit on what we're going to look forward to today and some of the stuff.
Hi everyone, so this is Praveen. I take care of mobility for Skype for Business. I've been in this role for about a year, since we launched our new apps. And we've been focused on mobility with Skype for Business for a while now, starting with some rich on-the-go scenarios, how people are using the mobile apps to increase their productivity on a day-to-day basis, and also how IT can manage the apps and kind of deploy and control some of the the risks that becomes inherent when you bring your own devices to organizations.
Wow. So yeah, so let's, I think about mobility, right? And one of the things that when we moved from like 2010 to 2013 is we enabled a lot of rich functionality of just having mobile clients that were able to be full functioning, right? Being able to have the ability to have voice and video in a meeting. But there was still some limitations there as well. There was disparate experiences, and we made some real investments, right, in trying to bring that experience much more familial, right? So talk a little bit about that journey as we kind of went from the Link mobile to the Skype for Business mobile and why that's kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think the story is again very similar to what we have accomplished on the desktop side, right? Which is we wanted to take the familiar user experience with Skype that folks were loving already on the mobile platforms as well as desktop, and we've taken the same experience. We've brought that to our mobile clients as well. So if you've been using Link, which I had been using the Link mobile apps, and now you use the Skype for Business mobile apps, there's a world of difference in terms of usability, the experience that you get, and the familiarity, right? So we've been on that journey, and also with the platform specific familiarity that people are looking at. So we're trying to marry the two together, which is if you're using any other messaging app or any other app on iOS or Android or Windows Phone, you expect certain things to function in a certain way. So we've taken that into account as well, plus this familiarity of Skype. Yeah.
Perfect. Let me ask a couple of questions. One of the things that we like to do, we talk about productivity, is tell me a little bit about what we're seeing in productivity with customers and companies in general and in the industry.
Yeah, so I think it's a very exciting time to be kind of in the mobility space right now, right? With a lot of, I think across all the industries right now, we're seeing a trend which is increasing number of people bringing their own devices and they're choosing their own devices through employee programs as well. And there's a wide array of device experiences that people want to choose from based on what they love, right? And that is bringing, productivity to a whole different level, which is I want to be able to work from anywhere, from my favorite device, be able to collaborate with people anywhere on the go. I think that trend is increasingly getting popular. I think according to a Gartner study, 70% of mobile workforce will actually be working remotely with using their mobile devices, which is a staggering number, right? If you look at that.
Yeah, that is. Hey, we were joking before this that I've gotten better about mentioning QA and the question answer and the pulse. Don't forget that they're out there. We forgot to mention it right up front, but we use the pulse to engage some information from you, and Q&A Manager is a great way to ask questions of us as moderator, and we've got Paul and Ben in the back moderating, and so it really helps us to make sure that we get the right information back out to you. So anyways, keep going, sorry.
So coming back to productivity and mobility, I think that has been a key focus, that if we want to enable everyone to be able to collaborate using the mobile devices, not just in a passive way where they're taking phone calls, but be able to actively engage in collaboration, be able to share files and take calls and run meetings from mobile devices.
So what you're saying is we might be up for a really cool demo coming up in just a few minutes to really talk about those scenarios, right? So one of the things I want to kind of do, because right before we get into talking a little bit more depth, you and I live on these devices.
Yeah.
You know, I've got an Android device, you've got an iOS device. You know, between texting and phone calls and everything else, but during the day and all my business work lives within meetings, right?
Yeah.
And you know, we're a global company. We work with product marketing managers around the world. We work with engineering teams around the world. I mean, heck, your engineering team, a lot of it's in Stockholm.
Stockholm, right? Some in Palo Alto. Yeah.
And so, you know, you're globally ours, right? Plus working with our different teams. And so, you know, tell me a little bit about how you live a day in the life with Skype for Business now that you've got a lot of the rich functionality and mobility.
Yeah, totally. I want to start off with the fact that, you know, without the mobile app for Skype for Business, I would be so unproductive and you know, not being able to you know, function the way I do. So I think the day in the life of typically starts with you know, using messaging in some form or fashion. Right? Starting with you know, talking to my engineering counterparts in Stockholm because it's a different time zone. Sometimes they're not able to be on the phone, so just, you know, messaging back and forth and connecting on, you know, critical items on the roadmap.
And you commute by bus, right?
Yeah.
So you've got an hour of really time that you've got one of two choices. You can just take the time and say, hey, you know, I'm going to read a book or I'm going to take a nap. But really, what that gives you an hour jumpstart to really kick that.
Yeah, and I've been using that hour very regularly, taking my Skype business calls from a mobile app on the bus with the, you know, Wi-Fi on the bus, which is great. And sometimes, you know, the Wi-Fi goes down, which is pretty normal on a bus.
Yeah.
And I, you know, switch back to my data connection. If my data connection is acting up, I can, you know, transfer my call to my PSTN line. I'm always connected to a meeting. You know, so that 1 hour is truly productive. It's not just spent commuting.
Excellent. Well, let's, you know, I use it actually in a number of fashions, the same as you. My personal favorite, though, with the mobile device is that it's got the integrated calendar right in the app, right? So when I go into my meeting, I don't have to go and like search through Outlook and try to join. It's right there, right? It's natively integrated. We're gonna talk a little bit more about that integration in a minute.
Yeah.
So, well, let's talk a little bit about, you know, what it means that what those on-the-go scenarios look like and what the complete meetings experience is.
Yeah. So one of the key focus has been optimizing the mobile apps for on-the-go scenarios, which is, you know, making good use of the real estate available, right? If it's a tablet, you can use the entire real estate for, you know, conversations on one side and actually seeing the meeting content on the right pane, right? And it's a mobile device, it's using the entire space for full video, for example. So all of that is now in the product and it's looking great
Really?
as well. And then you're looking at larger button controls because a lot of times, yeah, you're on the bus fiddling with buttons, you know, unmute by mistake. So making sure that usability of the app is very important right now.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, making sure the buttons are optimized. You're able to get into a meeting just using one touch. We call it the quick join right from your dashboard. You don't have to open the meeting. It's all optimized to get you what you want to do as quickly as we can.
So with that, you know, one of the things that mobility gives us the capability to do is really hear a lot of end user direct feedback, right? Mm-hmm. Normally, if you think about it from a client perspective, we're hearing that feedback from the IT professional or from a partner or even a consultant. And in this case, we're actually hearing it directly through the store feedback, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And we've been paying close attention to what we're hearing on the store. You know, we've seen an increase in the ratings over time since we've launched, primarily because of the feature completeness. We launched the new apps, which was a great experience, but we had some gaps around content sharing and content experience on Android specifically, which we have closed over time. So now you can have the full AV experience, and you can view content on all your mobile apps. So which has given us this whole spectrum of meeting experience on the mobile apps, and which is definitely reflected in the feedback that we see in our app stores. And I encourage you to go to the app store, leave us feedback. If you have anything specific, of course, you can also leave some feedback here.
We got a great question actually, and as we're going to kind of move into a little bit more of the new features, we're actually going to talk a little bit about some of the recent app updates. But one that we've had for quite a while is, sorry, we had some people walking through. One of the questions that we'll have is we got a question, the server-side conversation history. And why is that so important in mobility?
Yeah, so imagine a scenario where your boss is pinging you and you had a conversation about something. You had some data in a conversation history on your desktop or some other device 2 days back, and then you're trying to pull it when you're on the go.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be going back to your desktop and waiting for that. You want to access that conversation right at your fingertips, right? So we've moved from storing conversations locally on the device to storing with Exchange on the server side. Now, given that we moved to server-side conversation history, it definitely means that you need to enable the server side as well. So online, we are now enabling by default so that you get same conversation history across devices.
Yep.
For server, you still need to go enable as an IT admin.
One of the things with that server-side conversation history the scenario that it kind of goes along with yours. Yesterday, I was talking about, I got the email from my wife and I responded in a text back to her, right? So I received an email on my desktop, I respond in a text on my phone because we're so multimodal, we're always on the go. That server-side conversation history has been so paramount because I can have that conversation at my desk and then I can continue it, or I can have the conversation while I'm on my mobile and continue that same conversation and then also have that historical reference. Yeah. That was one of the best investments that we made, was to be able to bring that persistent experience across devices and really to be able to show that threading, right?
Yeah.
So,
and at the same time, I've met customers who had requirements around not storing conversations at all. So we made it flexible both ways, which is, hey, this is great. If you can leverage it, you should enable it. But we understand that in certain organizations, because of certain compliance policies, may not want to enable it.
Yeah.
So there's an option that as an IT admin, you can control the experience that you want.
Awesome. Hey, let's talk about some of the recent app updates. Talk to us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So one of the key things that we've focused on is kind of increased interaction in our own ecosystem, right? With rich apps like Outlook, where there's close affinity if you look at what you accomplish, with calendaring and scheduling with Outlook app.
And you mean the Outlook mobile app?
The Outlook mobile
that
app.
That was part of the Acompli acquisition we made last year. We've integrated. Actually, it's gotten ratings as I guess the best Gmail competitor, or Gmail mail client out there.
It's an amazing mail client. And then when you bring together Skype for Business with that mail app experience, it's just amazing. So we've been focused on how can we enable richer scenarios which are not focused and siloed in the app, and bringing together the whole ecosystem as I was speaking. So a couple of things that we have done on that front is we have now integrated the ability to join Skype for Business meetings on your mobile app directly from Outlook. So if you open your Outlook calendar, you have the same join button on your calendar invite. You can just hit that button and it directly launches you into the meeting, which is great because you don't have to go log on to another app, another calendar, and join the meeting.
Excellent. You're going to be able to show us some of that a little bit later,
yeah,
right?
We will look at that as
awesome.
well. And also the ability to, if you're in Skype for Business, today you see a calendar which is 2-day view, but it's optimized for, real-time meetings, the meetings you care about. But if you want to look at, what's your calendar, looking like for the week, for the month, you can open Outlook calendar directly from Skype for Business.
That's awesome.
And we have some more investments coming on that front, which is being able to integrate presence information, being able to schedule Skype for Business.
Oh wow! So the ability.
Outlook,
so truly mobile, right?
Yeah, truly mobile. You probably wouldn't be missing your laptop if you don't have it.
Yeah. Other than having to write documents, because my two thumbs get tired after a little while, right? So, now we've got some additional investments that we're going to showcase here in a little bit that obviously are up on the screen. Talk to us a little bit about what were kind of the two other areas that we've done some major investments.
Yeah, so one of the key areas of focus has been content sharing experiences, starting with optimizing for low bandwidth scenarios where you want to make sure that you're able to view content under all scenarios as efficiently as we can.
So you mean on the bus over poor Wi-Fi, or you're hey, you just happen to go under the I-90 bridge, so therefore you're going to lose the connectivity for data, right?
Yeah, especially. So taking care of frames per second and optimizing for the bandwidth available. That's really a key component. So you would not notice that unless you're using the app and seeing that you're always connected. You might notice that the density of the resolution has gone down, but that's just because you're having a very bad network and we're trying to optimize for that.
So instead of dropping the call
Yeah.
or going back to the days of VTC and getting max headroom or whatever,
Yeah.
we're now optimizing it so that we can scale that resolution down while you lose bandwidth. As that bandwidth comes back, that resolution comes back,
Oh,
right?
definitely. Yeah. It's always kind of adjusting dynamically, so which is very
Excellent.
powerful. So we bought the sharing experiences to Android and iOS, and of course on Windows platform has always been there from the get-go. But that being said, we're now moving to a space where we are being able to make your mobile device a primary device for running meetings and not just a companion device. What that means is, you can view content, but you were not able to run your meetings. You could not access your cloud files and present in a meeting. So if you were stuck with just your mobile phone and wanted to run a critical meeting, you could not do that. Now we are bringing the ability to present PowerPoint files, starting with PowerPoint files. We'll of course move to other media types as well.
Yeah.
You can join a meeting. You can access all your cloud storage apps, not just OneDrive. You can access Google Drive, Dropbox, and whatnot. Right?
Oh wow. Okay.
And you can choose your PowerPoint file, which you might have been working on. You can actually, if you're having a PowerPoint app, you can do a quick edit before getting into the meeting.
We've got all the iOS and Android mobile apps, right?
Yeah,
for that, so you can
so
edit
you
totally.
edit real time, and you can upload the PowerPoint in the meeting. And what's powerful is how easy it is to move between slides. Given swipe gestures, you can just transition between slides effortlessly. And on the other side, if you're running a full desktop client, that PowerPoint presentation becomes available in your content bin, which is great because you can download it offline if you want to have a look and move through the slides.
Excellent. So we're being asked to ping the Pulse and Q&A so that we get some real questions and answers on that. We did have one quick question specifically about the Outlook mobile app. The integration for the ability to schedule Skype meeting from within the mobile app. Do we have a timeline on that, or is it?
Yeah, that's something which we're working on. I would expect in another quarter we should be able to enable scheduling Skype for business meetings from the Outlook app as well. That's something which I already touched based on.
No, I know you talked about it. I just want to make sure we got it on timing. Hey, one of the questions though that I've got, because I have an Android device, and so on my Android device I have my Outlook contacts, I have my Gmail contacts, and then I've also got my Outlook.com MSA contacts. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So another key focus has, of course, been the native platforms that you're on, right? Because you are doing a ton on your device as a native platform, which is you have your contacts organized. It's your phone, right? You have your documents organized. You have your PSTN calls coming on your phone. So you want your communication apps to seamlessly integrate with your native platform. So we've been focused on bringing your native contacts into Skype for Business app and vice versa. So we've done some work on Android on that front, and we're continuing to work on iOS as well to bring some of those contacts and being able to migrate contacts from Skype for Business to your native contacts and vice versa. Another key investment has been around the call experience, right? So when you're running Skype for Business on your phone, you also have your PSTN calls coming in that I was mentioning. So now on Android, you can choose what's more important for you. So let's say you're in a call with your internet provider arguing about your telephone bill, and then your boss is trying to call you in Skype for Business, and he cannot get to you because you're already on a call. Not anymore. You can choose between your PSTN call and your VoIP call, which is coming.
Awesome.
So you decide what is more important for you, and not just randomly hang up from your Skype for Business call if somebody else is trying to call you.
Excellent.
And how often does?
And that was direct feedback from customers.
Oh yeah,
right?
And especially as people are bringing the enterprise devices to enterprise scenarios and looking at that as their key communication mechanism. You want to make sure that they're being notified when somebody pings them. They have their call coming all the time as well when somebody's trying to call. So I wanted to also highlight that we're working right now with the iOS team and kind of exploring the call kit integration on iOS 10 and how we can achieve the same what we've done on Android with iOS, which is you have your native call and VoIP call. It's Skype Business treated at the same level.
Excellent. Cool. So we've got a couple more updates. This is one of the things that obviously is kind of near and dear to our heart. Really, I think is the last one on this list, right? But why don't you talk a little bit about that, and then I think we should pop right into demo so we can start to show some of this stuff.
I also want to touch base a couple of key improvements that we're working on, which essentially enhances the experience that you're having with your mobile app right now. Key one, of course, is push notifications. You're all aware of, you've been talking about push notifications support, which hasn't been there in the app, and we've been focused on getting.
Can you give us an example of where we would see a push notification?
Right. So let's say you're using the app regularly, and you're getting all your notifications all hunky-dory, right? But imagine a scenario, you went on vacation, you've not been using Skype Business app, you come back and you've been logged out, and you're just getting to work, and all you have is a mobile app. Because you're not signed in, or you're inactive on your app, today you may not get your notifications because you're not running the app actively. Push notifications allows you to always be listening to notifications.
Kind of the background. So that
and that kind of coming back to the point that people looking at this as their primary device, this becomes paramount. So we're starting to roll out push notifications for our online customers, and pretty soon we will be rolling out for several customers as well. The clients themselves now already support push notifications.
Okay.
We are rolling out server support and online support as we speak.
Excellent. Yeah. There's a couple of things that are actually a couple questions. One, transferring meetings to cell line in the case of a weak connection, is this an automatic feature or can users control it?
So it's how we do it is basically intelligently. So when you're in a meeting and we detect that you're having a bad meeting or a bad call, your network connection is dropping, we prompt you to transfer the call to your cellular line.
Are you forced to do it at that point, or can you decline it?
No, you can decline it if you think that, no, I'm going to go back into my room where my router is. In 2 minutes, you can choose to hang on, but you have the option to choose. I see a question around international charges. If it happens automatically, it doesn't happen automatically, but of course there are carrier charges involved
when you do bring them in. Yeah. Excellent. Let's talk a little bit about really the battery consumption improvements, which we've got up here, and actually is a clear question where somebody has asked, what's the goal with regards to battery consumption improvements, and what is testing and early deployments shown?
Yeah, so this is again something which came as a direct feedback from customers. One was around, hey, the app deployment package itself, and the battery consumption that people would notice while running the app. So we want to, again, as we enable richer scenarios, we want to make sure that we're not increasing the battery consumption and the app package, for example, dramatically, right? So we've been focused on optimizing as much as we can over the last 6 months or so since we have launched the app. So we've been able to reduce up to 10% the battery consumption, which is significant.
That is a significant improvement, right?
Yeah, not a room to play around. So that's something which we've seen in our early testing, and I would love to hear from you guys if you've seen any battery consumption issues, if you've seen improvements, which I'm sure you have if you've been using that for a while. So I'd love to hear some feedback on that.
Okay, so there's a bunch of people that want screen sharing, right? We know that this is a hot commodity and it is on roadmap, right? But it's right now, I think we should talk a little bit about what we've delivered and give them a little bit of a taste of what it means.
Sure, yeah, let's jump into demo.
Yeah, what I would say is why don't you hop out, start from like you in the native client, not necessarily in the meeting.
Yeah.
And then join so that we can kind of do that. We're going to go and you're going to see. Now, I'm going to give you an example of this real quick because what you're actually seeing here is Praveen's phone. And so Praveen's phone is actually connected through my laptop. We're using the AirPlay functionality. But one of the things we're going to let you know is I know the fidelity and the speed is going to be a little there. This is more to give you a general view rather than the fidelity stuff. So when this is recorded, well, you can see it and get a little bit better view on it. So
yeah, as you can see, I'm right now on my mobile app for Skype for Business in my dashboard view, and I see that I have a couple of meetings. I want to join the one which is of course set up for the demo, as you can see. And as the feature that I was talking about, as you can see, it's just as easy as hitting this one touch button.
That's the thing that was on the right, right?
Yeah, that was on the right, and
wow.
I can come directly into the meeting.
Now, right now you're holding it vertically like you would at other times, but you were talking about full bleed video. Can you turn that for me real quick so we can see?
Yeah.
Now you can see that just took up all of the screen. It's got that's full bleed video. You've got Paul there drinking his coffee. There you go. Except he keeps looking actually at the wrong camera, which is the best part. Because yes, that camera right there, that is very scary. But one of the things that you were talking about was this ability to now bring in some other stuff.
Yeah. So let's say I'm running this meeting on my mobile device, and I have to present in a meeting, right? So I can choose to present in a meeting.
So you present. So that just asks you to present, and then you have all of your online.
So yeah. So I primarily use OneDrive, and then sometimes I also use iCloud Drive, which is the native app for cloud storage
for some files, for iOS stuff,
photos and stuff. And I might have once in a while some stuff on Google Drive and Dropbox and stuff. So depends on what your preference is. You need to have the cloud storage app on your phone, and if it's there, enabled for Skype for Business, we'll pop it up here. So.
So you go into your OneDrive?
Yeah, and as you can see, I have my personal OneDrive and I have my business OneDrive, both of them added. Of course, I have my stuff on my professional work drive, OneDrive, and I'm going to select the PowerPoint that I want to show. Let's say I want to select the mobility slide here. I'll give it a few seconds while it's.
So it's uploading, and this is loading right now. Over your LTE network, right?
It is.
Oh, there you go.
I'm connected to Wi-Fi.
Wait a second. So what you're telling me is right now, I'm seeing Paul in his video overlay.
Yes.
Plus the PowerPoint,
which I'm sharing from a cloud storage app on my mobile phone.
Wow. Yeah. So you mean that I literally can do my meeting anywhere?
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't see any reason why you cannot. And this is just a phone. Imagine a tablet where you can really see even tiny text on your tablet now, right? So.
Yeah. Well, and so just to kind of talk about optimizing, right? Mm-hmm. He's not on like an iPhone 6 Plus S, whatever it is. He's actually using the SE, right? Which is their streamlined, smaller phone. Mm-hmm. And it's, I mean, I'm sitting here looking at it, and it's got great resolution and pieces there. So one of the things that somebody has asked is actually when they launch it on their iPhone, sometimes they're barraged by the conversations because it's been closed from their desktop. Is that a lot about that push notification information?
Yeah, so I think the push notification is really going to streamline some of the notifications and making sure that you're logged into the app all the time, you're getting all the notifications, you're signing improvements. I know it's been a little slow in coming, but we're making great progress there.
Excellent. We did have a question actually about single-threaded conversations and if they'll be implemented.
Yeah, so this has definitely been an interesting conversation, and I would not say yes or no either way. We're definitely looking at having people-centric conversations, which is, I and Sean are having 10 different conversations in a day. Kind of how to streamline. We're looking definitely one of the ways to streamline is having a continuous sequential conversation history. Versus the transient conversations history that happens. So we're definitely still exploring. I'll have more to share hopefully in the next couple of months.
Perfect. Yeah. Hey, why don't you show what it's like to move through the slides, so it's not just that we've got the upload there, right?
Yeah, so I'm just swiping through right now. As you can see, it's as easy as sliding through between slides. I have a short URL for the mobile app, so definitely go there and download the apps.
And Paul is actually using this on the other side, right? So he's actually experiencing this on his full rich desktop client and stuff like that. So excellent. Well, I'm actually gonna move it back to us and get us kind of ready. Is there anything else kind of top of mind that you want to share before we close out here?
Yeah, so I wanted to really quickly touch base on some of our future investments, and we have some questions out here for you to kind of ask, what do you want to hear about? But one of the key topics has been authentication and manageability. As IT starts to roll out some of these mobile apps, and people start working from anywhere.
What, you mean this isn't as secure as my device sitting locked in my office that's chained to the table?
This is actually secure as your device you're sitting in your office. Yeah, totally.
So let's talk. So explain some of those technologies we're doing to really kind of do that.
Yeah. So we've been focused on a couple of things. One is being able to have modern authentication mechanisms for you to be able to authenticate into the app.
Okay.
Which is moving away from the age-old mechanism of storing credentials on the app, transferring them over the wire, where you can possibly intercept them and be able to hack, right? So we're moving to token-based access mechanisms, which are based on OAuth mechanisms, which allows you to transfer tokens and be able to authenticate. We've called it modern authentication across Office apps. So it is one consistent way of
kind of in this modern world of mobility and security concerns and things like that. Being able to send a token based is definitely better than sending a hash, right?
Yeah. So, and on top of it, what that enables you to do is enable multi-factor authentication, which is I'm sure you do multi-factor authentication once in a while for your mobile apps as well.
Nothing like sitting there trying to get into my OneDrive for Business, and then I get prompted. And for those that don't know, the multi-factor auth, I use my username and password as my initial authentication. My second authentication after that, though, is that it's actually then prompting me based off the server side to then verify my second authentication protocol. So a name and username is one form of factor of authentication. This one, in my case, happens to be PIN-based auth that I get off Azure because of my Azure AD and my authentication there. So
and one of the cool experiences that I want to talk about is, initially I thought, hey, this could be painful for my end users, if they have to multi-factor auth. But using Azure Authenticator app, where the power of the device comes together with Azure Authenticator app, where you just touch you give your fingerprints.
You mean on iOS?
On iOS.
See, we don't have that yet.
Yeah, so that's something wherever we can on the devices that we can, we're trying to streamline that experience as well. So if you have second factor auth as as your authenticator app, and then you can just put your thumb on your phone and you're logged into the app. So it's as streamlined for the end user as it can be, and still giving IT the manageability that they want. So that's about authentication. We'll be doing there. We're also enabling certificate-based authentication, which is another modern way of authenticating. We're starting to roll out for online customers as we speak. And on the other hand, of course, we have our Intune solution, which is a first-party device management and application management solution, which helps you to not only manage devices, which of course you can manage the whole suite of devices that people are bringing in. You can also manage the applications on your phone.
Yeah, and that's actually key. Especially if you are living mobile, the ability to not set a policy to not copy and paste IRM material, right?
So being able to conditionally access the app, making sure people are running the latest iOS software or Android or Windows version before they can access the app itself. Setting PIN for access, you can control multi-factor authentication policies as well using Intune, and of course granular policies like when you mentioned, which is copy paste. And also the power comes alive when you enable the managed apps to work together seamlessly with single sign-on experiences, which we also are starting to
which was actually really key, because if you think of how Exchange authenticates versus how Skype for Business authenticates, that was always a tough space. Now with our modern authentication, you've got the ability to do MFA, multi-factor authentication, for both of those apps, and be able to integrate from online, be able to integrate that same experience, right, of having the calendar in your Skype for Business. Excellent. Hey, so we're getting close to finishing up. The one thing I was going to say is, I know that there's a slide here, but more to kind of talk to. So we've done video. We've talked about video-based screen sharing on the application side for the rich client. Video-based screen sharing gives us the ability to, instead of using RDP, being able to actually stream that content in over video-based, which gives a better, speedier experience, scalable, right? Going to a smaller one, uses different bandwidth.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about when and what and things like that we can plan to see.
Yeah, so bringing video-based screen sharing, which is a better way, as Sean put, of screen sharing over RDP protocol, which we've been traditionally doing. Not that we are moving totally away from RDP, but in scenarios where we can, more reliably, more efficiently use the bandwidth, video-based screen sharing works great. So we've had video-based screen sharing on the desktop, and now we're bringing again the richness into the mobile clients as well. Where if you're in a meeting where somebody's sharing from a desktop client, you're in your mobile client, you will also soon be using VBSS. So we plan to release video-based screen sharing support for iOS in a month, and the next release you should be seeing video-based screen sharing. So that essentially allows you to more efficiently use the bandwidth available, given poor networks and data connections. So if you have the network and bandwidth available, you use more frames per second, and if not, you scale depending on where you are.
Excellent. Well, cool. Well, I think we've covered a lot of information. One of the things I'd suggest is making sure that you are using mobility. I know there's a lot of, we've asked a lot of questions out there around how people are using it. Make sure that if you have not answered your Pulse questions, you can go over to the right-hand side and answer those. And thank you for joining us. We're going to do another session in 2 weeks, and we will post what the updates are there. Please continue to provide feedback through Yammer, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Have a great day.